John Roberts is a graduate of the University of Texas who lives in Virginia. He was a finalist in the 2006 Austin Chronicle Short Story Contest. His fiction has appeared in Word Riot, Monkey Bicycle, and in the short story anthology See You Next Tuesday. He lives on a small farm where he distributes hay to geriatric horses while nursing truly hideous sinus allergies, because his wife is stunning. A lot of devotion to wives here. Okay, and the story is called Deliver Me. Yellow leaves spun down and ticked softly on the porch. They covered plastic chairs and a dirty glass table, suggesting artful neglect. A broom with a splintered handle leaned against the railing, next to pieces of a red birdhouse that had fallen from the old oak. Light from the setting sun brushed the tips of the highest trees. The air, cold and still, drew the heat from Jim's bones. He tightened the string on his pullover, wiped his nose on his sleeve, wiped his sleeve on the back of his pants. He heard gravel popping under tires, checked the door one last time, locked, and stepped down onto the driveway. Her car. Somebody else driving. He dropped his gym bag and waited. The car backed into the turnaround and the driver cut the engine. A big guy got out. He was unshaven, wearing crusty jeans, an unbuttoned green flannel shirt over a hooded sweatshirt, and grubby pumpkin-colored work boots with the laces untied. The sweatshirt said Harvard. Nobel Prize winner dressing down. "Hey, Jim. Ed. Allie's brother. Remember me?" "No." "Yeah, well, she had to work last minute. I said I would pick you up. You weren't answering your phone." "Don't have a phone." "There you go. I'll pop the trunk." Jim stowed his bag, swept crumbs and dirt off the passenger seat with an equipment catalog, and rolled down the window to cut the booze sweat. Ice cubes with hollow centers bobbed around 2 beer cans and a cooler wedged between the seats. "Help yourself. Happy hour." Ed tapped the clock on the dash and turned toward him. Jim felt closed in, like a talking flannel airbag had just inflated next to him. "You really don't remember me." Jim closed his eyes, tried to reconcile the guy next to him with his memories. Chubby little kid, reindeer pajamas, one hand on his pecker, wouldn't piss and brush his teeth. He'd wanted to play with his train set all night while Jim was trying to get down with Allie under the Christmas tree. Allie's parents out all night, not with each other. Jim remembered crushing up sleeping pills in the kid's eggnog, enough to drop an uncooperative zoo animal. Remembered carrying him to his room and checking his breathing over and over. Both of them just boys, really. Allie already starting to show signs, getting anxious and paranoid whenever she was high. Later, Allie riding him as he tried to grab her swinging necklace, her Christmas present, his whole paycheck between his teeth. Jesus, carrying that kid, his arms soft around Jim's neck, slipping his feet under the bed covers and then coming down the hall to Allie's open robe. The perverse domesticity of the scene struck him now. Allie had to work. Waiting tables. $high steakhouse, good tips. Asked me to pick you up. I moved some things around to get it done. Ed had his hand on the keys, but didn't crank it, still looking at Jim. Jim nodded, let a breath out. "I appreciate it." Ed slapped him hard on the shoulder. "Glad to do it." As they crunched down the driveway, Jim slid lower in the seat and watched the house recede in the side mirror. Not his house anymore. He had left the keys on the kitchen table, on top of Carol's note that said, "Leave keys." "Keys left," he had added, getting the last word for once. Ed was talking. "Went through a split myself last year. Got weird at the end. We're sitting on the couch doing business, you know, contact numbers, P.O. boxes, bills. We start laughing. She puts her feet in my lap. Because we're the only 2 people who understand. Nobody else is inside it. You know what it's like?" He waited until Jim said what? "One of those old samurai movies where the guys are slicing and dicing each other and they get tangled up face to face for a second and it's like, can you believe we're killing each other? The last thing they have in common, right? I mean, chopping somebody else's head off. That's at least as personal as sex, right?" Mother of God, a long drive at rush hour with Mr. Miyagi. Jim rubbed his face. "Ed, let's refill this cooler." "Could use some gas, too." Jim dug for his wallet. Ed pulled into a gas station. The sky was dark now, but the parking lot was lit up, so strong he thought you were being abducted by aliens. Jim went around back to the can. 2 hairy homeowner types were already waiting. He stepped out of the light to piss and almost rolled down a steep hill. Son of a... He rocked on his heels, found his balance, and waited for his eyes to adjust. Down below, fragmented by tree branches, square windows floated in space, some yellow, most blue and flickering. Car lights and parallel lines crossed at an intersection. One car turned into a cul-de-sac and then into a driveway, illuminating 2 fallen bicycles in the yard. He heard the thump of a car door. Dad's home, Mom's home, hide the bomb, fix a drink, feed the dog, nuke a pizza, sniff a shirt for tomorrow, and let the current drag you down the river. Jim aimed his stream down the hill, zipped up carefully when he was done, hunched over in the universal protective gesture. The two Harrys were glaring at him, but he knew that they would do the same thing when he was gone. They drove west. Traffic thinned, abandoned wooden houses, country stores, and horse and cattle farms replaced the suburban fungus. The left headline was out, and the right one flickered every time they hit a bump. Jim drank between potholes. He squinted each time they passed a street lamp, watching a single gold strand of light touch the hood and guide the car into the next dark patch, like Tarzan riding vines. "So catch me up," said Ed. 10 years, one lesson, Ed. Every relationship is the goddamn Middle East. Let me drink about that for a minute. They laughed. Ed slapped one hand on the dash and turned a beer over into his mouth with the other. Jim thought about Carol's sleek friends, all the times he had drawn laughs sitting around the McMansion talking about his country roots, describing his hometown as a fetal alcohol colony filled with hatchet-faced gun-toting half-wits. Lifestyles of the high caliber and low IQ. Now he was rolling back, drunk, broke, dismissed. Showing off the genuine mountain man got boring for Carol, and all of the others, right quick. He opened another beer. The shock of seeing Ed, now a behemoth, set him wondering about Allie. They had been sharing quite a few racy phone calls lately, but he hadn't seen her in years. My God, what a luxurious, irresistible delusion that the place he left is a closed book, all characters ageless, poised in mid-stride, waiting patiently for your eyes and breath to move them again. All is forgiven as your high school sweetheart opens the door with a smile.